YouTube sensation, that's awkward. I'm exhausted. I had a really long day today, and I didn't eat much. And two things usually happen when that is the case. I forget the lines I'm going to do in my poem, or I lose my filter and I say something that gets me in trouble. So, if either of those happen, I'm just asking if I can have some grace for tonight, if that's cool. Okay. And with that being said, I was going to share a little bit about my story, but I figured, hey, before I do the poem I want to do, I got a few lines in my religion poem that shares that. So I'm just going to do a few lines, and then we'll get into the one I'm doing. See, we dress up the outside, we make things look nice and neat, but it's funny that's what they do to mummies, while the corpse rots underneath. Now see, I ain't judging, I'm just saying, quit putting on a fake look. Because there's a problem if people only know that you're a Christian by your Facebook. Woo. I mean, in every other aspect of life, you know that logic's unworthy. It's like saying you play for Rogers High, just because you bought a jersey. But see, I played this game too. No one seemed to be on to me, acting like a church kid here, while addicted to pornography. See, I go to church on Sunday, while Saturday getting faded, acting if I was simply created to just have sex and get wasted. See, I spent my whole life putting on this facade of neatness. But now that I know Jesus, I boast in my weakness. Man, you guys are jacked up. It's packed, we're about to get the fire marshal called on us or something. Nothing better than getting shut down for being a big church, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I read an article on CNN the other day that really hit home for the poem I'm about to share, and it's the fact that people my age, so college age, 88% of them have had either premarital sex or done something in that realm significantly in a heavy way. And the Christian number is 80%. You're telling me that Jesus makes a difference of only 8%? I mean, seriously. And so that's where I want this poem to go, is for the Christians in here. I'm not talking, if you do not love Jesus, this does not apply to you. Stop hiding. According to statistics, probably 80% of the guys in here last night were on their computer looking at porn, joining themselves to a false 2D image. And man, it's ravaging the church. It's ravaging us. We have no power because we look just like the Corinthians do. But here's the thing. Because of Jesus, you can come out of hiding. I know those people in here who are bringing shame, guilt, remorse, because sexual sin is deeper than other sin. It is. And they're bringing that in here, and I want you to know that first of all, your sin is serious. So serious that God actually had to be murdered for it to be taken away. But God loves you so much, He was willing to be murdered for you. And you have to hold both those tensions. The gravity of sin is huge, but the grace of God is bigger. You gotta know that. So, that's where this poem came from. It came from John chapter 8, and then John 19, where Jesus says, "It is finished." And that is actually an accounting term which can be translated as paid in full. Your porn addiction, paid in full. You sleeping with guys because it makes you feel loved, paid in full. Not partially, and that happened 2,000 years ago before you were even born, which shows me you're really not the sinner, He is, and He took care of it. So that's this poem. I got a little feisty, I'm sorry. And again, this is spoken word, you guys are already doing it, but man, feel free to cheer, boo, tweet it, do whatever you want. So let's look at the subject, and I'm going to tell you why I'm disgusted. So tonight, it looks like sex will be our topic of discussion. Now see, sex isn't evil, for marriage is why God made it. But I know you're like, come on, Jeff, that's too outdated. This is 2012, bro. We do it for recreation. And hey, if you're in college, you do it while you're wasted. But I want to question that logic. I want to pop off the seal. I want to question something that we think is already a done deal. So take a rape victim, for example, and once it's revealed, when her bruises go away, is she totally healed? No, the damage is lasting. You can see it in her eyes. But if it was just abused recreation, why did it ruin her life? I mean, if sex is just for fun, why does it take such a toll? Maybe it's because you don't just have sex with a body, you have sex with a soul. Which means for me, there ain't no premarital loving. And it ain't just because I want a baby in the oven, it's because I'm staying pure till the day that I'm a husband. Now see, this wasn't always me. That's a guarantee. Let's go back in the past, see who I used to be. Now growing up, I never learned how to treat a lady. I learned one thing from my dad, was leave the mom ditch the baby. Now I don't say that to get sympathy, I say that to be real. Because according to stats, about 40% of you know how that feels. See, I let the TV show me what the music already told me. No dad at home, so I was letting MTV mold me. And they sold me, which is why my life revolved around what girl I could get next. My life revolved around this girl named Sex. Shoot, I gotta confess, I'd even get at her on the text. But it seems the longer we dated, the bigger the mess. And then my girlfriend was late on that time of the month. If you know what I mean, you understand when I say my heart sunk. I started to think about abortion, man, I butter it up. But it's funny, they don't make condoms for sin. You can't just cover it up. See, it was just a scare. Thankfully. But it's funny how I was pro-life until it happened to me. So dudes, think twice before you desire her just because she's hot. Because the truth is, your body makes a promise whether you do or not. Sorry I digress though, let's get back to the topic. How there's some dudes in here who pressure her, even when she says stop it. You're not a man. You're just a boy that can shave and you put on a good cover. Because if you don't respect... If you don't respect her when she says no, you certainly don't love her. So how about you start studying her heart and stop studying her booty, or maybe invest the same amount of time in her that you do in Call of Duty. All of a sudden get naughty, because you should have to touch her heart and her mind first before you ever touch her body. Because she longs to be accepted, she longs to be loved. If she gives herself up to another guy's lust. She thinks it feels good at first, but then she gets bitter because the promise of satisfaction, it never delivers. She's like, I don't want to, but it's just too tempting. So she keeps opening up the present just to find that it's empty. And then she starts to get confused. She keeps getting rejected by all these dudes. They tell her on a scale of 10, she's a 2. But that ain't true. If she only knew that Jesus, he loves and accepts us. Even when you don't want him, he'll never reject us. He heals us from that sin that totally infects us and gives us what condoms can't. He emotionally protects us. Now, I know some of you, like, man, this dude's whack. And you're going to want to indict me. But we got to think rightly, so I'll ask politely. Can you really say this isn't even true? Just slightly? I mean, we touched the forbidden fruit not to realize it's poison ivy, and now we're numb and we're itching. We got a distorted psyche. You can't think you just do it like your name was Nike, not realizing the consequences of your actions are, oh, so pricey. But this last story is for those who think they're too dirty. This last story is for those who think they're unworthy. Read John chapter 8, the woman caught in adultery. Religious leaders throw her naked in the temple while she yells, don't murder me. They say, Jesus, the law commands us to stone this woman. And you hear the hate in their tone. Jesus pauses and then says, whoever is without sin, you can cast the first stone. I mean, can you imagine the sound? Silence all around. You hear footsteps walk away, you hear stones hit the ground. And then Jesus kneels down. The woman thought it was her demise. He lifts up her face. You see the grace in his eyes. He says, I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more. I love you. I accept you. Mercy is yours. But if you're anything like me, you're like, no, that can't be. Why would he ever die for me? See, but then I saw that tree where I was redeemed. He reached out and touched me and said, Jeff, you're free. Instantly, I was wearing the brightest robe I'd ever seen. I was perfectly spotless. I was perfectly clean. So bright, in fact, man, I thought I'd go blind. I said, whose is this? And he said, actually, it's mine. So think twice before you eat what society feeds us. And come follow the King. His name is Jesus.
Come on, let's thank Jeff and his honor to be